This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Postgame reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Knicks have another big game tonight. They take on the Miami Heat at Madison Square Garden. For some reason, I thought I was going to be in Miami, but it's at Madison Square Garden. Big game, ladies and gentlemen. The Miami Heat are in the 6th seed. The Knicks in the 7th seed. The Knicks are like 2 games behind the Miami Heat. So they can close a little bit of ground with this game if they can get this win tonight. Andy, I want to say what's up to you, but I want to talk about something before we get to the Knicks versus the Miami Heat. But what's going on with you, man?
What up, Sim? Happy to be on with you. And happy I'm on with you on the stream because lately I can't do any post-game shows, so at least the pre-games are
Right.
time that I can share my opinions on the Knicks.
Right, definitely. All right, so let's talk about this then. Ian Begley put out a report today talking about Cam Reddish, and that December 4th was the game in which Cam Reddish was benched. Okay, prior to that, I guess he expressed some displeasure to one of the assistant coaches about his role, and since then he hasn't played. Right, so obviously since December 4th he hasn't played, and I guess he expressed that displeasure sometime around then. Do you think that's the reason why? I mean, because Cam Reddish doesn't even play in garbage time. Right? Even in garbage time, it's, other people getting off the bench to play. Is that the reason that Cam Reddish is not playing?
This is a great question, Sim. I know that the Knicks fan base is maybe not split straight up in half, but I see 2 camps here. No, of course, the Cam Hive is going to tell you that Tibbs should be fired just for this situation and only for this.
Right.
And the other, part of the fan base is like, listen, this is just only one player. Who is he to make demands, asking or telling the coaching staff that he feels he can say and put his displeasure out there that he might be used incorrectly and stuff like that. But, it seems like he had a little bit more onto it than just displeasure. And only for saying and, trying to somehow communicate with the coach and saying that you might not be that happy with your role on the team is one thing. Demanding stuff is a totally different things. So
I didn't read that he demanded anything. Did he demand?
Yeah,
something?
but it kind of makes me wonder if Tibbs would be that dude. So if a player says that, listen, I think we could do this or this for me, and that would be better for me. If Tibbs would be that dude that's gonna bench you for that, I'm not quite sure. If I was Tibbs, maybe the situation was, how he got the word from the assistant coach,
right,
which we don't know the name of the assistant coach.
Right.
Could be like, listen, Cam thinks that he's not used properly. And, the communication here could be straight up mismatch of words.
Right.
And the message could be totally different. I don't remember what's the game that you call, when little kids play, when, someone comes up with a sentence and you tell it from ear to ear, right?
Right. And then it changes, yeah.
And it changes. So, and this just a poor usage or management of words could switch the word, and Tibbs could have been offended, right? Because who's Cam to ask for a bigger role if he doesn't provide this or this for Tibbs's,
Right.
schemes,
And,
right?
and see, if that's the case, right, that Cam expressed something to an assistant, and then that assistant expressed those words or whatever to Tibbs, and then Tibbs in turn did not have a conversation with Cam, to me that's on Tibbs. That's because I feel that, so one, and maybe this is a different mindset in the NBA, right? But I always feel you can't put all your energy into your best players. You got to put your energy also into your players who are not the best, who are developing, who are growing, because the weakest link of your chain is where it breaks, right? So you want that weakest link to be as strong as possible as well. And I'm not saying that Cam is the weakest link, but if you have a player that is disgruntled, I think that you should, spend a little time, have a conversation. A 10-minute conversation, can change everything, because I think you're right. Cam could have said to an assistant, I don't like the way I'm being used. Now, that assistant could have went to Tibbs and said, Cam is unhappy with the way he's being used. He also could have went to Tibbs and said, just speaking about that assistant, I know if I was an assistant, I would go to the head coach and say, maybe we could try using Cam like this. Maybe we could try using Cam like that, right? So that it, because that's one of the things that I think assistants do as well is, kind of be a barricade between the coach and the player sometimes. And sometimes you may have to not change what the player said, but say it a little bit differently.
Yeah,
right?
and the same out.
But if the assistant coach came and said something to Tibbs and said, hey, he doesn't like the way he's being used, I think Tibbs should have had a conversation with Cam.
Well, yes, and just to add on, two things that you mentioned here. One, coaching as a profession is not only about things that you do on the court or in the practice facility, is managing the egos of the players.
Right.
This is the top league in the world. You got to keep emotions of the players. You got to keep, several different aspects of the game, of the player, of the character, of the guys and stuff like that in place, in check, so that, there's not, maybe not as many, just you manage the rifts as much as possible. And like you said, you said that the coach would go and put it in like soften the blow, right? That you could say from the player, that the coach can hear from a player, right? You as an assistant coach, and that's probably your personality just as well as mine. I would, even if for example, Cam told me, listen, I don't feel used correctly, maybe you can talk. I would go to Tibbs and say, like you said, listen, and I would even mention that Cam wanted it, or Cam said,
Right.
because I know that may cause a rift.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I don't want that as an assistant coach. I don't want any damage control situations or anything like that. So I would say, like you said, listen, maybe we should do, or give him a second chance, whatever, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that's going to be, I have the same things in my company every day.
Mm-hmm.
One person, one supervisor can tell you, oh, you did the work bad, now who's going to pay for this material and stuff like that. Meanwhile, I can go in and say, listen, we screwed this up, so we're going to use it somewhere else. Now we got to do it this way and this way correctly, but
Right.
don't throw that things away, because we don't need to lose that money on that material and stuff like that. So I kind of say the same thing, because we got to repeat the work, right? But nobody's going to get offended, or I'm going to charge them of their pension or whatever.
Right. Right.
So you can say to the same communicate, the message can be given several, different ways.
Yep.
Question is, if you want to cause a rift, or you just don't want that damage control, and you just go really, really soft and around it.
Right. Right. And because assistant coaches, a lot of times, they are there to kind of be the confidant of the players.
Like the buffer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Who was it? I was watching, I forgot the young lady's name, but, she did the little clip with with Steven Jackson, talking about San Antonio and some of his issues there. And one of the things that he said is that Greg Popovich assigned Mike Woodson to work with him, right? And that there were times when, Pop would bring him out the game and Steven Jackson would go to the end of the bench and he was, riffing, and Woody would come down there and he'd be like, or not Mike Woodson, whoever it was. I can't remember who it was now. Not Mike Woodson, but anyway, he would come down there and he'd be like, no, don't come down here, not right now. But sometimes that coach would just come down there and stand in front of him, stand to the side so that Pop can't hear what he's saying or see what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
Your assistant coaches have to do that as well, kind of protect the players. Either way, I look at the coaches and I say something went amiss there. Either the assistant coach could have worded it in one way, or maybe that's not how that assistant coach is. That coach is going to be like, I'm gonna say exactly what he said. And if that's the case, Tibbs, in my opinion, should have said, okay, let me have a conversation with Cam. Now, somebody asked, why can't Cam just go to Tibbs? Well, I don't think it's just that easy when you're talking about the player-coach dynamic. Some players are going to be, have a stronger voice, and they're going to feel more comfortable going to the coach. And some players are not, right? Especially a guy that is in Cam's situation. He might feel like, man, if I go to the coach, he's just going to bury me even more. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you know what? I'm playing right now. I'm not going to say nothing to coach, but I feel confident, at least expressing how I feel to this guy right here. You know what I mean? So I think that's easier said than done when you're talking about the player-coach dynamic. You know what I mean? Because the coach holds, a certain amount of power over how many minutes you play and so on and so forth. So you might be a little bit shaky in going to the coach if the relationship isn't strong. If the relationship is strong, then you might not care. You can go to the coach all day long. And then it just doesn't seem to be in Cam's personality either. Funny situation, I guess. Also, in the article with Ian Begley, he said that Cam's management, agent, whatever, they have no interest in Cam getting DNPs beyond the trade deadline. So, if Cam is not traded, what happens then?
Oh, he's going to get the Kemba Walker treatment. I mean, he's asking for the Kemba Walker treatment. Let me go somewhere else, work on my game, so I'm going to be ready for the offseason and for some team to sign me. And Sim, this is the thing why I said that maybe Cam demanded something. Because, Cam saying that he's misused and, stuff like that is one thing. But your agent coming out or the news coming out that, listen, your agent is not going to take DNPs for you and stuff like that, that means there's something more than just, I was misused and just a little bit of complaint. I think that's a little bit major of a thing. And this is the problem, at least for me, Sim. I kind of see it and view it as a problem that the NBA players have a little bit too much power over the coaching staffs and the coaches. In Europe, this thing is unthinkable. The coach is, and he's not probably on one of the best teams in Europe, in the Euroleagues, the coaches get paid more than the players. So they're the boss. And whatever they say, it happens. In the NBA, it kind of looks like that. But we all know that what happened to Steve Nash on the Brooklyn Nets, superstars just say a word and the coach is gone. So, and I think, this might be the situation. These players get so big egos that they think that, even if they're not superstars, they can kind of demand stuff from the coach. And for me, this is unacceptable. I never played under a coach that I could speak up to a coach. I mean, like talk to him, suggest stuff and stuff like that. Right. But if I was like, listen, why I can't take a shot, I would be on the end of the bench like Cam, literally to summertime. And then I got to work out through the whole summer and get my minutes back.
Right.
If I do this stuff like that. So you never speak up to a coach. And maybe sometimes these coaches take speaking up or even, kind of showing their disappointment of the players towards the coach as some kind of a disrespect. And maybe that's what was how Tibbs took it, right?
Yeah,
So
I think some coaches do. Coaches are very sensitive over are they doing a good coaching job or not, because there's a lot of scrutiny. A lot of scrutiny.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So even if a player, says, "Hey, I think we're doing this wrong. Or I think you made a mistake here or there," coaches get, "Oh, what? Me? I made a mistake." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard. I've learned. Where I learned it. I had a player one time who was a really, really good point guard. Really good point guard. Very, very smart. And I had to let him just run the team out there on the floor. And, sometimes he would ask me, "Coach, can I get this guy to come in? Can I get that guy to come in?" I'd be like, "Let's go." And put him out there. And then, I had to learn to listen to my players a little bit more, because they're actually out there on the floor. They feel the speed of a team, the strength of a team, how athletic they actually are. You know what I mean? And sometimes you got to let the players make some suggestions. You know what I'm saying? Hear what they're thinking. You know what I mean? I don't think it diminishes you as a coach if you do that. I think it makes you a little bit better, actually, if you do that. But, Tibbs is an old school type of coach.
Yeah. And listen, Sim, it's also all about the results, right? If the team would be winning, nobody would be complaining. Maybe Tibbs was like, "Listen, I got a couple of L's on my belt in a row. I need a W." And now the players are, kind of, starting to, ruffle their feathers or whatever, and maybe put me even more on the hot seat or stuff like that. So maybe that was the way of him trying to put out the fire before it, grew bigger. So he's like, "Let me just put it out, take this guy on the side. He's out of it. So there's no one else coming to me and saying that I'm doing a bad job or stuff like that."
Right.
It might have worked, for good for Tibbs. And, maybe in the locker room, it looks totally different. We see, for example, RJ, he didn't comment on the last, benching of him.
Yeah.
And there were rumors that he told Cam to, tell the reporters that don't let him ask me a question because, stuff like that. Maybe he would regret what he would say because he was hot, that he didn't get minutes and stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm happy that he's so mature that he didn't do it, because imagine just RJ saying like, "Listen, I didn't lose the game. The guys on the floor lost the game.
Right.
I wasn't on the court."
Exactly.
And then it's like, okay, he's throwing us under the bus.
Right.
And he's throwing the coach. So, and you don't want any rifts. This is basically, it's a little bit down the road from half of the season. There's still so many games. The season can go pretty well. It can go pretty bad. So you don't want this, noise coming out of the locker room, coming in and stuff like that. You gotta micromanage everything. And it's way more than just minutes on the court.
Yeah, exactly. It is. I'm glad RJ didn't come out and say anything crazy too. You know what I mean? Sometimes, things are just better left unsaid and you let it smooth over. You know what I mean? As far as Cam and his management saying they're not interested in any DNPs after the trade deadline, I would take that to say if the Knicks do not trade Cam, then maybe he'll be bought out.
Yeah, that might be also the asking point. So they're like, trade us anywhere else, because for example, they trade Cam for, I don't know, whoever, right, to Portland for a second round pick.
Mm-hmm.
He can ask for a buyout from Portland, and then he's gonna go wherever he wants.
Go wherever he wants, right?
So that might be his tactic to get on the team that he wants. Because, I don't think Cam is in a position, for example, to ask the Knicks management to trade him to a certain team because he wants to be there, right?
Right.
He's
not in a
not
position
D-Rose.
to
He
do
doesn't
that.
have the cachet. He's not a vet or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's why I think, or the Knicks can just do the Kemba Walker route and they just can ride out his contract, not release him.
Yeah. I mean,
Let
I
him
think
rot,
at this point, they would trade him. If they
or
can't get
anything.
anything else, they'll trade him for a second round pick or something,
Yeah.
right?
And that
Just
would
so
be
that they can
smart,
bring
Sam.
something back.
Exactly.
Because
That
they're
would be
not,
smart. Anything is better than just showing off your point. If it's, if it can be turned into like bad publicity, you rather just dump it for anything and
be
wash
done
your
with it.
hands, right?
Exactly.
So
Be done with it. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, the Knicks play the Miami Heat tonight, and we're pretty sure Cam Reddish will not play tonight. Okay.
he's not going to start, that's for sure.
He's definitely not going to start, and probably will not get off the bench. I don't even know if it's a bench nowadays. It's just chairs. It's not even a bench anymore, right? So he won't get off of any of those soft cushion chairs that they have out there on the floor. All right, they play tonight at 7:30 at Madison Square Garden for the Knicks. Of course, Mitchell Robinson is out for the Miami Heat. Victor Oladipo comes off the bench, is doubtful. Duncan Robinson is out for the Miami Heat. All right, so looking at the starting lineups for tonight, the projected starting lineups for the New York Knicks, you got Brunson, Grimes, Barrett, Randall, Jericho Sims. And for the Miami Heat, you have Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Caleb Martin, and Bam Adebayo. All right, listen. Historically, over the last couple of years, this has not been a good matchup for the Knicks. All right, it's been tough for the Knicks to beat the Miami Heat. I feel like this is the season. Does it happen tonight? I don't know, but I feel like this is a season that the Knicks can get some wins over the Heat. I think the Knicks are a much better team than last year and even 2 years ago, right? I think the Knicks are a better team, more composed team. And even though they're only 27 and 25, I still think they're playing at a higher level than even 2 years ago, right, when they made the playoffs. It's just teams are better now, but I think this is a better team than those teams. I think the Knicks can beat the Heat. It's not going to be easy. This is one of your top defenses in the league, right? They're an experienced and poised basketball team. They're going to play aggressive. The Knicks have seen this kind of defense versus the Toronto Raptors. It's going to be the same type of basketball game. Andy, your take on just the game overall and then, the matchups that we just threw out there on the screen.
Yes, and I agree with you that the Knicks can actually, have a close game with the Heat this season. Not only because I feel like the bench of the Heat is kind of weak. And by weak, I mean they're on par with the Knicks bench because we know that the Knicks bench has problem with scoring and stuff like that. I think that might be the case that, Tyler Hero is starting nowadays. He's not coming off the bench. So, Knicks having Emmanuel quickly off the bench actually is kind of a, pro for the Knicks bench. And I think the bench minutes might be the thing that decides of this game because the starting lineups are quite similar. The guys in this from position 1 to 3 kind of similar. You could balance them out. Meanwhile, when you look at the 4 and the 5, if you switch Randall on Bam, they kind of cancel each other out because Bam is also a kind of 20-10-5 guy. So I think it's quite balanced out that Caleb Martin and like Jericho Sims also cancel each other out. So this game probably is going to be very close. I just hope that the Heat don't catch fire from 3 because we know that the Knicks have problem with defending the 3-point line. And I'm not going to say that Jimmy Butler is a threat, but Tyler Hero definitely can catch fire from the 3-point line.
Oh, man. He can definitely catch fire from that line.
Yeah, that might be a problem.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Obviously, Jalen Brunson, I think will be guarding Kyle Lowry. Let's look. I'm going to switch this over to some defensive matchups. Quentin Grimes, most likely on Tyler Hero, RJ Barrett on Jimmy Butler. Now my question is, do you put Jericho Sims on Adebayo or do you put Randall on Adebayo?
I'm gonna stay with Jericho Sims versus Adebayo at the beginning at least.
At least at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna try to get Julius Randle in foul trouble. On the other hand, I want him to have that offensive power and energy from the beginning, because I don't think Caleb Martin has a chance, to guarding Julius. So he has to go strong from the tip, and then see if Spoelstra is gonna adjust some
Right.
matchups and stuff like that.
Right.
But I also don't think that he's gonna use Bam from the get go on Julius.
Right. I agree.
So
I mean, with the other guys, you almost have no choice,
yeah,
right? I mean, Kyle Lowry will be on Jalen Brunson, Brunson on Kyle Lowry, Quentin Grimes on Tyler Hero. Quentin Grimes doesn't score like Tyler Hero does, but I think he is going to make Tyler Hero have to play defense. You gotta at least respect Grimes. That's the thing about him, right? He can shoot it from three. When he catches the ball on the wing, he can go off the dribble fast. Obviously, when he goes off the dribble, he can dip it off to, big waiting in a dunker spot or whatever. So Tyler Hero, he's got to respect Quentin Grimes, so he's going to make him play some defense. My concern is with Grimes defending Tyler Hero. You know what I mean? I know Grimes is a good defender. I'm not saying he can't defend him. I'm just saying Tyler Hero is a guy you got to make it tough on him. He's a 21 point per game scorer. You know what I mean? He can light it up from three. He can score in a multitude of ways. You know what I mean? Your thoughts about that matchup, Grimes and Tyler Hero?
Yeah, I think these guys are kind of opposite of each other, right? One is a better defender, one is a better offensive player. I don't think Tyler Hero can stay with Quentin Grimes on the offensive end, though, because, like you said, Quentin can take a shot, he can take you off the dribble. And like I said a couple of shows ago, that first couple, like a step or two from Quentin Grimes when he, pump fakes from the three or something like that, he goes really fast.
Really fast.
On that first step. He's like, why are you rushing so much? You got the guy in the air. You don't need to rush it like that. But, I think, the game speed is going to come to Grimes, in a couple of games, maybe like 10, 20 games, and he's going to, know how to utilize that space that he gets after the first and second step. Because now he goes like literally straight in the hoop and he dishes off a couple of times to the big man, like you said, last game to Hartstein. We saw those assists from wraparound assists and stuff like that when he tries to attack the hoop to the guys like Sims, to Randall. So, that's also a good thing. And we know that Tyler Hero is nowhere near as a defender as Quentin Grimes is. So he has to make him work on the other side of the court too.
Right. RJ Barrett and Jimmy Butler, right? For years it's been, RJ Barrett is kind of looking at himself and Jimmy Butler and who he might be. He's playing under Tibbs, so on and so forth. And obviously right now, with, RJ not saying anything after the press conference and, him not playing in the fourth quarter, people are, thinking maybe there's something going on between Tibbs and RJ and et cetera, right? But, this is a guy that a lot of people look at and say, maybe he could be Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's averaging 20 to 21 points per game as well for the Miami Heat. They have three guys in that 20-point per game area. Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo. The Knicks have three guys in that 20-point area: Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle. Barrett on Butler. And we've seen in the past where Butler has kind of, even, through competition, spoken and talked to RJ Barrett, coached him a little bit. You know what I mean? I think Barrett's going to be up for the task tonight. I think he looks at Jimmy Butler as, a guy that he could aspire to be. So I think RJ is going to come out ready to go. I think he's probably motivated from, not playing in these fourth quarters and wants to prove that he should be out there. I'm expecting a good game from RJ tonight.
Yeah, and Sim, like you said, I I'm kind of happy that they match up with each other. For one, Butler isn't, he doesn't have the speed in the first step. He plays more of a mid-range game than the three-point game. So he kind of fits, around RJ for me as far as matching up on both sides of the court. So I think this is going to be a great matchup. And like you said, I hope, Butler gives him a little bit, of pointers in the game. And even if not, I believe that RJ is looking up, like Jimmy Butler is probably like top 5 that he's looking up to, how to, emulate his game
Right.
for the future and stuff
Right.
like that. So I think, this is a great matchup. I hope they play as many minutes versus each other as possible.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm hoping RJ, has a good game, plays in the fourth quarter. I have a question about that after we get through this, though. You know what I mean? But I hope he does. And then you got Julius Randle and Caleb Martin, right? And when you get to the fourth quarter, it's going to be Julius Randle and Bam Adebayo, though, right? Julius Randle, is averaging 24 points a game, almost 25 a game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists per game. Caleb Martin is like 10 points. He's not out there for that, though. You got to have somebody out there that's going to not be a scorer. You know what I mean? And that's what he is right now. And then you got Jericho Sims and Bam Adebayo. In my opinion, Julius Randle should dominate that matchup with Caleb Martin. Maybe a good defender, 6'5", small, can get underneath Julius Randle. But I think Julius Randle should be able to do his thing. I'm concerned about Jericho Sims starting out on Bam Adebayo. How do you think that goes?
Well, from what I know, I don't think they're going to Bam, straight up off the gate. So they might try to do this game because, clearly he's going to have a younger player with less experience and stuff like that. So they might try to go and run the offense through Bam a little bit more from the get-go. Sims isn't that bad of a defender, and Bam, listen, you're not going to be able to guard fadeaway jumpers and stuff like that. But let's not act like Bam is a Jokic type or an Embiid type. He doesn't have that kind of an offensive game. More of what I would be afraid of is like a fast rebound and cutting from sides and stuff like that. I don't want to see Sims putting mistakes like backdoor cuts from Bam, alley-oop plays, and stuff like that. That would be bad for Jericho Sims as far as Tibbs sees it also. He might get snatched really fast and put, Hartstein on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the physicality of Sims has a little bit of an edge versus, Hartstein playing versus Bam, because Bam is quite physical.
Yeah, quite physical. He can take you out to the perimeter. He's only shooting 10% from the three-point line. So he's really not shooting it from three, but he can score a little bit in the mid-range. He can take you off the dribble. I'd be concerned about that matchup with Hartenstein. You're going to see it at some point through the game. I'd be a little bit concerned about it. With Jericho Sims, I'm a little bit concerned about, his ability to stay in front too. I think he's probably better suited than Hartenstein, but I'm a little bit concerned about his ability to stay in front too. That's going to be the tough matchup, I think. And that could be an X factor there, throughout the game. Now, fourth quarter, Julius Randle should match up with Bam Adebayo, when you get late in the game, and it'll be a little, I guess I shouldn't say it's an X factor, right? Because you got Caleb Martin guarding Julius Randle and then Jericho Sims and Bam Adebayo, and that'll probably switch around later on in the game unless Caleb Martin is doing a really good job on Julius Randle. Making him, tentative out there on the floor. He's not shooting a high percentage, etc. You know what I mean? But I would expect Julius Randle and Bam Adebayo to match up late in the game, and that should be a fun matchup to watch, I think.
Yeah, and Sim, when you say the starting lineup of the Heat, you could imagine Tibbs trying to use the small ball lineup with Obi at the 4 and Julius at the 5,
right?
At least for a matchup thing for a couple of possessions. I know he doesn't like that, combination of Obi and Julius. But if there's any game you can play Obi guarding a guy like Caleb Martin, I think this is one of the nights that you can afford that. And like you said, we know that when fourth quarter comes and the game is going to be like 6 minutes, 8 minutes left, I think that there's going to be any other chance, unless Sims or Hartstein play great defense on Bam. But if not, we're going to see Julius on him. So, and vice versa too. I'm expecting Bam to be on Julius in the fourth quarter, and that's why we might see a spot for Obi.
Yeah.
Try to get an easy bucket here and there.
Right. Now, It's Me in the chat asked if the Miami Heat are playing Butler at the 4. I would think maybe he could defend Julius Randle, right, and have Caleb Martin defend RJ Barrett. But I'd say Julius Randle is good at drawing fouls. And I don't think early in the game you want Jimmy Butler guarding Julius Randle, and maybe picking up some early fouls. You know what I mean? Julius Randle, I'm not, Jimmy Butler could, by all means, he's 6'7", 6'8", I guess. He could defend Julius Randle at the 4 spot. But you're going to chance him picking up fouls. You'd much rather have Caleb Martin picking up fouls early in the game than Jimmy Butler. And you might say, well, the referees might call it different if Jimmy Butler is on it. He might, but he's going to pick up a couple of fouls. You know what I mean? So, early in the game, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I'd go with Caleb Martin.
Yeah, definitely. And listen, late in the game, maybe, if RJ sits, it's going to be quickly versus Caleb Martin. So at the 3.
Right. Right. Speaking of Emmanuel Quickly, let's take a look at the bench matchup. The Knicks, of course, you got Emmanuel Quickly, Miles McBride, Obi Toppin, Isaiah Hartenstein. And for the Miami Heat, you have Victor Oladipo, Gabe Vincent, Orlando Robinson, and Max Struss. Victor Oladipo is doubtful for tonight's game, so that would definitely lessen their bench production. All right, the bench comes into the game, and these are season stats now versus each other. This is the first time they've played each other this season. The Miami Heat bench, 28 points a game, 12 rebounds, shooting 41.4% from the field, 31.7% from 3. The Knicks bench, not really that much better, 29.2 points per game, 43.9% from the field, 32.1% from 3. Both teams just about 6 assists per game. The benches are pretty much even. If Victor Oladipo isn't playing, the Knicks may have an upper hand with the bench matchup. Now if Duncan Robinson was out there, I'm sure that adds to their bench too. But the Knicks could have the upper hand when it comes to the bench units. You know what I mean? You want to talk about the bench a little bit?
Yes, I totally agree. The one player that I would be afraid of is Max Strus because, he's known to be able to stretch the floor. And I'm not saying that he's going to, make 6 or 7 threes, but he had games versus the Knicks that he had at least 4. So I don't know if Obi is one of the guys that that can guard him, out there and or even try to match it, on the other side of the court, because I don't see Obi taking, 5-6 threes in this game unless he's really hot. And we saw even games that when he's hot, he doesn't get that many opportunities. So, that would be the guy that we need to focus on from the bench is Max Strus and stretching the floor for him.
Yeah, no doubt. I seen someone in the chat say, big commodity, say RJ draws fouls too. He does, but not like Julius Randle, in my opinion. Julius Randle has kind of mastered that, the sweep through, picking up that sweep through foul, taking, 2 or 3 strong dribbles to the right and then pulling up and catching the defender with his hand out, drawing a foul there. And, he's been really, really good at doing that this year. You know what I mean? So if I'm the Miami Heat, I'm not going to take that chance with Jimmy Butler on Julius Randle early in the game, and picking up a couple of those fouls. But I agree with you about Max Struss. Obviously, if Victor Oladipo is out there, he's a dynamic guard that can cause some trouble. But Emmanuel Quickly, he's playing really, really good defense That's the one area that the Knicks bench, I think, has an upper hand over a lot of benches, their defense. When you talk about their defense from the guard position, Quickly and McBride, are two tough defenders. That can give trouble to other teams, and either one of them can, play with the starting unit and play some tough defense as well. You know what I mean? I do agree that the Knicks could go. You could see the Knicks go small at some point tonight, right? With Obi Toppin playing with Julius Randle, maybe Obi at the 4, Randle at the 5, where Obi is guarding Caleb Martin and Randle is guarding Bam Adebayo. I definitely think we could see that tonight. And if Obi's hitting that 3, it could really, really help the Knicks, in my opinion. Looking at the two teams on the season, ladies and gentlemen, the Knicks 27-25 on the season, the Miami Heat 29-23. Again, Miami is 6th in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks are currently 7th in the Eastern Conference. The Heat, they average 108.5 points per game. The Knicks 114.4. Both teams shoot 45% from the field. Both teams shoot about 34% from 3. Right? So I'm not expecting a great shooting game tonight. Miami Heat are a little bit better from the free throw line. Both teams take care of the ball, about 13 turnovers per game. Now, when you look at their ratings, the Knicks' defensive rating is 17th in the league, and this is overall during the course of the season, 17th in the league. Their offensive rating is 9th. And it almost flips with the Miami Heat. Their defensive rating is 5th in the league, and their offensive rating is 110.9, which is 27th in the league. Now, they're probably playing a little bit better now, but I don't know if it's changed that much. I mean, they just beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 100-97. What do you take? I'm going to, while you're talking, Andy, I'm going to look up the Miami Heat's defensive rating and offensive rating in the last 10 games. But what do you take from these stats right here, right now?
Yeah, I was going to say, Sim, that the Knicks defensive rating without Mitchell Robinson, in how many games did he miss? About, 7, 10?
Yeah, something like that.
It plummeted,
right?
Because we were like top 10 defensive rating team, even higher maybe. But, getting down to 17th, that's a huge drop. And it just shows you that the Knicks play way better defense in this scheme with Mitch Robinson on the court. And like I said before, after we got the news that Mitch is going to be out for a couple of games, that we will see better production from Hartenstein,
right,
from Sims. And we saw that Hartenstein played probably 2 best games of the season when Mitch is out, right?
Right.
Sims, he has flashes. We need to realize that he's a young guy, but they are not close to what Mitch Robinson gives the Knicks defense. And I'm not going to say that it's only altering the shots, but I think really this is the NBA and teams game plan so much that they take in account when you have a Mitch Robinson on the court and when you don't have him.
Right.
So
no doubt about it. The defensive rating for the Miami Heat over the last 10 games, 109.2. And the Knicks over the last 10 games, their defensive rating, 121.8. That's 28th in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Miami Heat's defensive rating is 2nd in the league behind Boston. And Boston is 109.1, Miami Heat 109.2. All right. Offensively, over the last 10 games, the Knicks' offensive rating is 119, 7th in the league. And the Miami Heat, their offensive rating is 111.7, 23rd in the league. All right, so, I mean, you're literally looking at teams that are playing opposite of each other. Right, so which one is going to win out tonight? I guess is the question.
Like you said, that's the question. But, Knicks still were considered probably a better defensive team than offensively.
Right.
But without having Mitch there, we gotta, change up the game, because we know that we can't stick, with the defense on the opposite team. So we have to score a little bit more. And that shows within the numbers. So, like you said, it's going to be a irresistible force versus a immovable object type of game.
Yeah. It is. It's going to be a battle. We'll see which one wins out. I would say with Mitchell Robinson there, the Knicks' offensive rating is probably dropped some, right? Because Isaiah Hartenstein doesn't play as much. And I think that adds to the Knicks' offensive rating when Isaiah Hartenstein is out there, because he can hit that little mid-range floater. Every once in a while he can catch the ball in the post and make, drop step or, a little fadeaway shot or, whatever he can do and score. Mitch doesn't do that, but obviously the Knicks' defensive rating goes way up when Mitchell Robinson is out there more on the floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Sim, just when you said about Hartenstein that he can hit the mid-range and stuff like that, I don't know if you noticed, but Julius Randle looks for him way more than he looks for any other center on this roster.
Right.
He never passes that much to Mitch or that much to Jericho Sims.
Right.
He looks for Hartenstein under the hoop.
Yeah,
So,
I think there's two things. I think one, he trusts that he can score and that, little floaters and things. But also, I think Hartenstein puts himself in a little bit better position in finding the little open gaps than Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims does.
he has. I think he's more kind of offensive, like aware on the offensive end.
Right.
Because Mitch and Sims, you literally have to throw the ball above the hoop for them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And like you said, you can do a bounce pass to Hartenstein and let him even put the ball on the floor for just a dribble,
right,
or a fake or something like that. So that might be the case. And listen, after a couple of months of playing together, you get to know guys and you see what they do, even if you're not playing with them. You see what they do in the practice games and stuff like that. So I think this is about the time where some of these chemistry bounds come out that we would never see, that we're going to see.
Yeah. The Knicks and Miami Heat tonight, ladies and gentlemen, from Madison Square Garden, 7:30 p.m. It should be a good basketball game. I think it's going to be a battle. Andy, I did want to ask you, and it goes back to someone in the chat mentioned it. I don't remember who it was. I should have flagged it. But he said, how long before RJ is coming off the bench?
That's not going to happen.
Do you think in any way that Thibodeau would switch RJ and Emmanuel quickly?
Nope. That's not the case, Sim.
Okay. I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't see that happening this season. And even next season, I don't think the management would let him do that.
Too many politics, right?
Yeah, too many politics. And listen, maybe if we pull a trade for OG Anunoby, and there's like, I would literally have to hear that he's not 100%. That's why he's coming off the bench, because I don't know, he got a lacerated finger or whatever. Again, that he's literally not starting. They can play him for like 3-4 minutes and then sub him fast, but not starting RJ is wow. That would be that. Tibbs would have balls doing that.
Eric Spoelstra did it with Duncan Robinson.
But Sim,
right?
Lisa, that might be another question, because I think Spoelstra, he's like Pops, right? He's so long with the organization,
right,
that he can play those mind games.
Right.
Tibbs does that, and you see, letters, put up on the subway entrance, fire Tibbs, start Cam. So you don't want to do that in New York.
Yeah, it would be, especially with him just getting his contract extension and all of that, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, Quickly is a much better defender right now. You know what I'm saying? And he's proven when he's in the starting lineup, he can give you 15 to 20 points per game too. He's not really efficient, but neither is RJ. And obviously your lineup would be a lot smaller. I don't think it would happen. You know what I'm saying? RJ is he's the kind of the native son of the New York Knicks right now. You know what I mean? The highest draft pick since Patrick Ewing. You know what I mean? So I don't think that would happen. But, if he keeps getting, being benched down the stretch, he's not going to like it. And there's going to be more and more rumblings.
Yeah, and
Obviously, he's got to play well, though. You know what I mean? He's got to play better than quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's still like the biggest punishment Tibbs can do to RJ is like, don't play him late in the games. Because, there's a saying all around the world. It doesn't matter who starts. It's who finishes the game.
Exactly.
And he's doing it even worse for him. So, and I like Jarrell said, RJ will request a trade before he'll come off the bench at this point. But him getting benched in the late in games, in meaningful games, I think it's a huge slap for him too.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, for real. We'll see tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We will see. It's going to be, if RJ doesn't play down the stretch again tonight, the rumblings are going to get louder. Yeah, they're going to get louder. Anyway, the Knicks take on the Heat tonight. The Knicks 27-25, Miami Heat 29-23. The Knicks trying to gain a game on the Miami Heat, folks. We'll see if they can get it done. Your prediction for tonight, Andy?
Well, I think we're going to win him. And I know I'm saying this a couple of games in a row that the Knicks are going to win. It's not that I'm such a fanboy and I believe in Tibbs or in our roster. I just really think that this game is a huge, huge game. It's not like make or break or stuff like that. But like I always say, versus one Eastern Conference opponent and versus the closest team in front of you. So This W, gets you like 2 W's and 2 L's for the Heat. And I think we're due to get a W. I think we're not playing the best basketball, and I think Tibbs is going to motivate these guys like they need the motivation even, but I think he's going to motivate them to get a W this game and not let them slide anymore.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the Knicks get the win tonight. And then, I think they get the win tonight. Try to close this gap versus the Miami Heat. Ladies and gentlemen, before you get up out of here, please subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Smash that like button for us. And also, if you want to go to the Knicks versus Wizards game in Washington, D.C. on February 24th, there's a link pinned to the top of your chat. $135 per ticket. Section 114, rows T and S, S and T, however it goes. And before and after the game, we'll be having events, possibly even a podcast, live podcast before and after the game at Guy Fieri's DC Kitchen and Bar, which is connected right to the Capital One Arena. So, we're going to be it's going to be a bunch of Knicks fans right in the arena, possibly doing a Knicks podcast right in the Wizards arena. How lovely is that?
Yeah, ain't that a slap to the Wizards fans, right?
Tell me about it. So spread the word. Even if you're not coming to the game with us, tell all these Knicks fans that's in D.C. to come to Guy Fieri's DC Kitchen and Bar and join in with us, ladies and gentlemen, and taking over Washington, D.C. Let's do it. February 24th. You can get those tickets right now. There's a link in the description. There's also one pinned to the top of your YouTube chat. Any last words before we get out of here, Andy?
Yeah, be on the lookout for the NBK Europe first interview planned for next week. Before that, I might do a short episode about Rokas and his, game in the current season in Europe here, because we didn't hear any updates. So I hope nobody's going to steal my thunder and do, reports suddenly. Ian Begley and the rest of the reporters are going to be talking about him when I, throw an episode out. Or we're going to see if that happens again.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. I'll catch you on the postgame show. And after the postgame show will be kind of short, 10:15 to 11:15 or so, because I'm trying to get back on the front stoop tonight. So 11:30, I plan on being on the front stoop, and we'll probably just be talking, just talking. So join us, talking about a lot of stuff. So just join us, ladies and gentlemen. I'll provide that link for you tonight. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Postgame reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.